And hello and good morning. This is Boles.tv, BOLES.television.tv, coming to you live and in person, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, it's always interesting when you do a live show, weekdays, Monday through Friday. You finish the show, you get up the video on demand, then you start preparing for the next show. And then on Friday afternoon, you think, oh, now I have a break. Now what do I do? So you start collecting things and things start piling up, and then you normally just go with what you have for your next show, but over the weekend you have lots of things that would make up lots of great shows. So you start saving this and saving that, and then that becomes out of date because everyone's been talking about it for a day. So it's an interesting process of trying to figure out things that are important on Friday, and will they still matter on Monday? And something that keeps going on all the time is this terrible, ridiculous war in the Ukraine. In Ukraine, there is no "the" there. And our friend Alexander has been very vigilant in sending us wonderful videos and wonderful photographs that we're going to share with you today. And about an hour ago, he said that he was going to be here. So I'm going to talk about some fun things and see if he shows up. And if he doesn't show up by, say, 9:30, then we're just going to go for it and share his wonderful videos and images. So I hope you had a good weekend. Let us know what you're thinking. And speaking of that, we have created 2 new sections in our Boles.tv live section on our Discord server. One of them is a chat area, text area where you can ask us, ask me, ask Jana Marie questions for the live show. So we know if you're posting in that section, you want that to be on the live show. And that's the easiest place because it's saved. We can both see it. We can talk about it. It's taking everything we do and putting it in one place so we can easily sort of find it. The other thing is we've also added in that same Boles.tv live area a new text is what they call it. I call it chat, but they call it a text section where we can and you can post links that we share and discuss here on the live stream. So instead of having to go back to video on demand or rewatch it on Twitch, if there's something that's going on that's interesting or you want further information, that is the place to place that so it doesn't get lost in the other conversations that we are so righteously having on Discord. And Alexander is very involved on our Discord channel. He posted a lot of images this morning in our new Ukraine section that is public, that everyone can see and participate in. It's wonderful. And I appreciate when you go in there and say hi to Alexander and say we are on your side, and he will reply back to you, even though he has to go through a translation machine thing in order to do it. But it's important to him, and so it's important to us. So, hey, I told you my story about the dishwasher. This was an event. Now, we have lived in this, what they call, nice apartment. The people on Reddit call it luxury building, luxury living, luxury, and then everything that goes wrong is luxury water pipes breaking, luxury explosions. It's funny. It's very funny. And so we've been here for about 5 years. And, you know, after a certain amount of time, things start to break down or need to be fixed. And one of them can be a washing machine, an oven, or a dishwasher, because all those things have heating elements and they tend to burn out and need to be replaced. And it's a very simple process. But over the weekend, and we don't really, for most of our 34 years of marriage, we've not had a dishwashing machine. The dishwashing machine was my dishpan hands. So now that you have the luxury of having an actual machine, and we don't use it every day, we try to use it very sparingly, but it is a convenience, and it really does get everything super clean. But sometimes it misbehaves. And lately, when I've been clicking the start button to start it, it starts, it says it's starting, and then you click the button and you walk away and you come back the next day, whatever, open it up, and the dishes are still dirty. And you think, well, how did that happen? I pressed the start button. And then you check the dishwashing detergent dispensing section, and it's unopened, never flipped. So you think, well, this is weird. So it doesn't look like there was even any water, because sometimes the thing doesn't open right, but it's still clean because everything's been washed, but everything was still not washed. And I am old, so I have a tendency of washing everything before I put it into the dishwasher, which you're not supposed to have to do with these newfangled machines. But those of us who know you have to. So I closed the dishwasher and pressed the start button. Timer came on, buttons came on, lights came on. I waited and waited and waited, and nothing happened. Oh boy. Now I was getting a little panicked, because when you do that, you put in a maintenance request, and the maintenance people have to come over, and they usually solve it in 10 seconds. So I said, well, this is not like it used to be 30 years ago, where you rented an apartment and you relied on your maintenance people. This is the age of the internet. So I immediately went on the internet, did a Google search on GE dishwasher, beeping, start light green. And oh boy, I tell you, I'm not saying there were answers there, but there were a lot of things for you to try. Some of them from professional appliance people, some of them from GE itself. So I tried these things. This is the first, I wrote this down. This is the first series of things that I was supposed to go try. Press the select cycle and start button at the same time. Hold them for exactly 5 seconds. Let it go. All the lights should light up. If all the lights on the machine light up, then press select cycle for 5 seconds. The lock button light, which is not green but amber, should show up. When the green amber light shows up for the lock button, then you press select cycle again for 5 seconds. And then I guess you press the start button, and it will start your dishwasher. Didn't happen. Tried it 3-4 times. Didn't happen. Nothing happened. So then you go a little deeper, and they say, well, then you have a circuit board problem. And the machine thinks it's latched, but it's not latched. The door isn't closed, but the door is closed. There's a wire rubbing inside that's shorting out your dishwasher. Pull out your dishwasher. Unplug it from the wall, plug it back in. I didn't do that one. Everything else I tried, everything else failed. So I'm thinking it can't be, because everything looks right. We're very, very careful with our machine. I don't think anything's rubbing. There has to be another solution. And then I came upon, the first couple of pages of Google are not really helpful. And there have been lots of articles written about that it's all now YouTube videos that they give you as first responses and other links to things that you don't want. You have to go deep into like page 3 or 4 to find the esoterica that actually solves your problem. So I kept clicking, and I found something that said sometimes if you stop your dishwasher mid-cycle, or like you start it and think, oh, I forgot this fork. So then you either pull open the dishwasher or click a button to pause it and put it in your fork and close it. I've learned you don't do that, just save it for the next one. Your dishwasher can become confused that can last over a period of time where it is starting and finishing mid-cycle because you interrupted the cycle And then when it reaches the end of the interrupted cycle that keeps progressing as you keep washing your dishes, then it just says, well, it's done washing. What's wrong with you? Why do you keep trying to wash when I've already washed it? Which I thought was very psychological and very interesting. And it turned out that the resolution to that is to tell your dishwasher, look, there is no mid-cycle. We're starting all over again. And you have to do like a Men in Black thing where you wipe their memory. Dishwasher forgets and starts all over and says, oh, here I am. And the way you do that is you go to the breaker box and you find the breaker that is dedicated only to the dishwasher, which again is new to me. Grew up in a very old house, lived in a lot of apartments that were very old. They didn't have, first of all, breaker boxes. They had fuses, and they didn't have breaker boxes that were dedicated to one single thing, like a dishwasher. But in luxury living, they do. It's breaker number 7, and it's labeled. So I counted 4 or 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, right? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. Check the thing. They have a little map on there that actually they type wrote up so you can read it. It's very nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because I didn't want to turn off anything else because then everything gets to get reset and you have to redo it. And it's very time consuming and awful. But I did it right. So it said leave the circuit breaker off for about 5 minutes. Then turn it back on. Your dishwasher should beep and reset. And then don't do anything for about 2 minutes. And then see what happens. Start a cycle. So I did. Boom, boom, on. Everything turned on. Start button. Nothing happened. So I said, I know this is going to work. I know this is what's going on. I know what's happening. I have mind melded with my GE dishwasher. But it didn't work. So I went a little deeper into the Google and said, well, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. I thought, okay. So I'm not going to wait 5 minutes. I'm not going to wait 2 minutes. I'm going to wait 10 minutes and 15 minutes. So I went back to the circuit breaker, turned it off, machine went off. Spent 10 minutes. And of course, I'm very antsy. I'm walking around, talking to Jan Marie. I don't know if this is going to work. We're going to have to deep clean the kitchen so the maintenance people come in and don't think we're filthy pigs. I go back, I turn it on, the circuit breaker, 10 minutes. Hey, dishwasher's awake. Okay, it's there. Now, leave it alone. 15 minutes, walk around. So I did walk around, 15 minutes, went back, looked at everything, closed it, pressed the start button, and it behaved as I expected it to behave, with the minutes showing. And then about 2 minutes, nothing happened. And I was thinking, okay, is that how it usually works? Nothing happens for the first couple of minutes? Because I remember hitting the button and hearing it go on and it starts. So I thought, oh no, I'm running out of Google pages to go deeper into. And then after about 2 minutes, I because I had my ear pressed against the dishwasher, hear the water going in and something spinning. And I thought, now it's working. And so I waited an hour and a half, opened up the dishwasher, the soap was gone, everything was squeaky clean. I solved the problem. I did not have to call maintenance. And I know now what they would have done. They would have come in, said, well, it's either the circuit board or we're going to turn off the power, it's going to fix it. And if it was the circuit board, I can't fix that, they fix that. But it's very easy. You open up at the top, you can undo 2 screws, pull out the old circuit board, put in the new one, it's fixed. And they would have come in, flipped off the circuit breaker, fixed it, and I would have looked very foolish. So I'm glad I saved face, figured it out on my own, and then the next day, oh boy, okay, dirty dishes again, had the Beyond Burger, we'll see if it happens. We'll try to wash a second time. Wash the second time, very carefully, very nice. Spoke very lovingly about dish soap. pressed the button, held my breath, closed my eyes, and about a minute, 2 minutes later, you hear things spinning, the water is running, and life is much better. So that's my harrowing story of the dishwasher that took up most of my weekend. But compared to 30 Greenwich here in Jersey City, we have it made. 30 Greenwich is a luxury building. Average rent, I believe, is $4,000 for a one-bedroom. People who live there love the views. They love the apartments, and they despise management, and they despise the cheap infrastructure of the building. 30 Greenwich has problems with rats and their garbage. And over the weekend, an apartment on the 15th floor burst a pipe. And a pipe in the wall is not the tenant's problem, it's a building problem. So this pipe burst over the weekend, and when a water pipe bursts in a high-rise, look out, because you cannot turn it off quickly. Even if you're able to find it, turn it off within 10-15 minutes, you have a flood of water. And the whole building flooded from the 15th floor down to the lobby. So every apartment that's 15, 14, 13, going down in this line of apartments, everything in every apartment was soaked. Everything was ruined in these $4,000 a month apartments. And the lobby was completely flooded. And they have wonderful carpeting there, and it was all underwater. And these are young people with lots of money. Many of them are Asian, and we've talked about that in our buildings here. Young Asians come here to go to school, learn, their parents pay for everything, and the best time to really move apartments in New York or even Jersey City is December, January, when they're out of school and they're back home. And either they've broken their lease or they're leaving. The summer is the worst time to try to get a new apartment because all the competition is there from the foreign influx, usually from Asia, with lots of family money, and they will outbid you. One guy said he had an apartment in Long Island City. He said it was okay. He was paying $2,500 a month. And his landlord wanted to get $4,000 a month out of him, and he said, "I'm leaving." And he left, and the landlord got $3,800 from the next tenant. And the guy couldn't believe it for that apartment, $3,800. And then he said, and the person who replaced him had to have $10,000 cash just to get into the apartment. First month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit, right? Which is equal to 1 month's rent. And to get into that apartment building, you have to pay a broker's fee. So all in, and we've talked about this before, all in, a new apartment, you got to have 10 grand in your pocket. Who can afford that? Not very many people. Not a lot of middle class people can afford to come up with $10,000 out of nowhere to move into a nice building. But it's interesting because nice buildings, you know, here in this building, if, you know, there's like a light bulb that goes out in the refrigerator or the stove, or you need a filter replaced, they take care of everything. If it was there when you moved in, the building takes care of it. Now, every other apartment we've lived in that's not luxury high-rise, you're responsible. You need to paint, you paint it, which is not the law, but that's what they say. Light bulbs go out, you replace the light bulbs. Something's wrong with your stove, you fix your stove, or we'll fix it in a couple of weeks when we feel like it. It's a little bit dismaying and a lot concerning. And also over the weekend, also in the category of first world problems, is this big debate that's going on that I didn't know anything about. I guess it's a big thing now on the internet. Not necessarily Reddit, but in blogs and on social media. And the crime is this. And it is a crime. People who now sleep without a top sheet in their bed. Now, the top sheet is not the fitted sheet that goes on them. The top sheet is the sheet. So you have your comforter, whatever, duvet here. Then you have your top sheet, required by law. Then you have your body. Then you have the fitted sheet below. All right? That's how the world works. Well, it seems that there are now people who are rebelling and protesting against the use of the top sheet. It's a waste. Why have it? The old-timers are saying, well, of course you need a top sheet because if it's too hot, but it's a little bit cold, you want a little bit of you can remove the duvet, have a top sheet covering you. It's wonderful. Other people say, no, the duvet cover has replaced the role of the top sheet. Historically, for really old people, your quilt, your blanket was made of wool, it was made of an animal fur, it was scratchy, you could not clean it often, so you needed to have the top sheet to protect you from the scratchiness of the wool of your blanket. And we don't have that today, so we don't need a top sheet. And other people are saying, well, do people still iron their fitted sheets and their top sheet? No, why would you iron? Everything comes out perfectly from your luxury high-rise washing machine. I don't understand how you could not have a top sheet. But I guess in Airbnbs and hotels, they're not giving you a top sheet. Now, the first thing you know when you go into a hotel is you take everything that's like a blanket or a bedspread off the bed, you fold it up nicely and you put it in a corner because that's filthy. That's where all the junk is from the other people who live there before you. And you just use the sheets because the sheets should be, relatively speaking, clean, whereas the duvet, bedspread are never regularly washed. But now, if they're not going to give you a top sheet, and you just have a filthy blanket that has never been washed hovering over you at night, no one can sleep. It's not healthy. It is a crime not to have a top sheet. And there are those who argue with you, but they may not know enough about the process of proper sleeping. And with that said, we're taking our very first blood pressure break of the day. Returning in a moment. And we are back from break. I'm David Boles, and this is Boles.tv, BOLES.television, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And it's lovely to have you with us today. Lots of interesting things going on with the news. We're going to get to Alexander's updates. But first, I want to share with you this lovely, lovely photograph from our friend Ellie. Ellie is a friend of ours, and she's very active on our Discord server. And she posted this image of the weekend on our Discord server. And she said this was the sky at night right before I went to bed. Isn't that beautiful? And she recently moved. She had a commute to come into go to school in New York City. 2 hours one way. Go to school. 2 hours the other way back home. That's a commute. That's a person who's dedicated to learning. But now she lives closer. I don't know where. But this is the beautiful sky that surrounds her. Now, another thing that's in the news that I find magnificently disturbing is this. Amazon now wants to be your pill pharmacy. It wants to be your medication dealer. Now, I don't know how we feel about this. Amazon already owns Whole Foods, so they control what we eat. We buy everything, our books, a lot of our clothes from Amazon, so they know what we're wearing. We know what our style is. They know what our mind is processing. And they want to buy Roomba so they can map your house and see how big your house is and what the dimensions are, and then probably make very specific recommendations, buy recommendations. Well, this wonderful rug from Asia would fit so beautifully in your foyer that just happens to be 18 by 10 feet. Who wouldn't want to buy that? Oh, you found something for me? Okay, I'll buy it. So they will fill your prescriptions. Normally $30, they'll charge you $11. They take insurance. Lipitor, $80, they'll sell to you for $10. It's really very interesting, and I suppose sort of disruptive, which is good. But can you trust Amazon? I don't know. We used to have a really great pharmacist at Duane Reade who took care of us. Any problems with anything, he would call us on the phone on his own, say, hey, your doctor won't do this. What about this? Should I call your doctor? Do you want to call your doctor? And he'd work with us. It was just terrific. And then he moved to a different store, and now it's really different. Now we've just become ordinary people. Nobody ever calls us anymore. It's all very disappointing. So the average pharmacy accepts most insurance plans, reviewed by pharmacists. Available 24/7, only Amazon. Meow. Prices up front, only the Amazon. Delivers to your door, Amazon. Meds as low as $1 a month, Amazon. 6 months supply, that's fabulous, Amazon. I don't know how they can do a 6 month supply. I thought that insurance companies only allowed a 90-day refill. So that is impressive to me because they also own pill pack. So if you have more than one medication, they'll put them all into a little pack that you pull out and tear off and take every day. But those are limited to monthly. So if you're on a 90-day refill plan because you're on maintenance medication, pill pack doesn't help you. But this Amazon pharmacy, I find very interesting. So where do they take all insurance? So this is very tempting, especially since we lost our favorite pharmacist. It's a little heartbreaking. Hey, Gordon says, Amazon sends you what you ask for. We had an issue with our local pharmacy where they kept sending us a different generic than the one we requested. Ew, that's a problem. In New Jersey, it's very interesting because if a doctor writes a prescription for a name brand medication, The state law in New Jersey is they have to fill it generically if there is a generic equivalent. And every month, the generic equivalent changes because it's cheaper, I guess. And I know doctors, dentists, doctors, who say this is very bad. If a doctor wants you to have a name brand prescription, there's a reason for it. Gordon goes on to say, well, they do the same thing, they said, and we replied that the physiological response was not the same, and it was a struggle month after month. Absolutely right. When the bag was picked up at the pharmacy, would the prescription be what we asked for or not? With Amazon, it's right, exactly right, every time. Well, I appreciate that, knowing that. That is very, very super good news. And I'm slightly concerned about moving our long-term prescriptions from where we have them over to Amazon. But maybe that's a seamless thing now. It's never been a big thing, but you always kind of worry that, something will get lost in the madness of it all. But if there's one thing Amazon knows how to do well is logistics, how they handle millions and millions of orders a day and then deliver them remarkably reasonably and on time is just an amusement and an amazement. Gordon says, have you seen their indoor security robot? That's a bit frightening. I have not seen the indoor security robot. You will have to send me a link if you have one. Well, now I'm getting interested in this. If Gordon's using it, then my goodness. I wonder if you can talk to a person if you need to talk to a person. How do I sign up? Where do you deliver? Do you take my insurance? How do you request prescription? Is Amazon right for me? Amazon Astro. That sounds, the name is scary right away. You can easily speak with a human being, Gordon says, about Amazon Pharmacy. Well, that's good news. I thought this was a new thing, but Gordon seems to have been using it for a long time. I just got the email saying, hey, do you know we have a pharmacy? Amazon Astro, the household robot for home monitoring with Alexa, includes 6-month free trial of Ring Protect Pro. $1,000. Astro is the robot dog of the Jetsons. Absolutely. And fun. This does look slightly frightening. Is that some kind of screen that changes based on your personality? I wonder what it does. That's very interesting. Turn off mics, cameras, motion button, available exclusively by invitation. Well. Intelligent Motion, Amazon Astro uses advanced navigation technology to find its way around your home. Roomba. And go where you need it. Well, there you go. Security guard and maid and Roomba all in one. Now that's genius marketing. Stay connected from anywhere. Remotely send Astro to check on specific rooms. And what does Astro do if it finds something bad? That's what I want to know. It looks cute. Astro moves around objects with ease, follow you, deliver a message. Astro will hang out nearby low traffic areas and go to it sounds exactly like a Roomba, which really now makes it all very clear about why can't you be cleaning the carpet while you're on duty, right? Multitask, Astro. Well, you got to buy Roomba first before you can do that, I guess. Or they would have probably used it already. Oh, it follows you around like a little puppy dog. Like an Astro. Very cute. It looks cute. But I'm sure there's something very terrifying about it that I haven't discovered yet. I like the idea. Included with Astro, Ring Pro. Fun. If we lived in a house, I'd love to have it. I can see how this, like if you fell or something, and you could call Astro to come over and help you, and then, do a video call with 911 or something, that'd be just terrific. Oh, and Astro can bring you drinks? Oh, Astro, take this to Jana Marie in the other room. She's only 10 feet away, but I don't want to get up from my chair. I guess I'd have to go to the kitchen first, though. Well, I'm all in. I would like to have Astro. Oh, look, it's even bigger. You can deliver M&Ms to Jana Marie if she needs M&Ms. What? Blood pressure monitor? Wow, that's interesting. Very cute. Oh, here are the guts of it all. Wonder if it has teeth. Can it sting you? Does it call 911? That's what I want to know. Put on the video. I can't put on the video because I'll be hit in the face by a DMCA thing. Because I don't know where it's originating from. It might be Amazon. It might be the YouTube. Who knows? Photos, you don't get in trouble. Video, for some reason, they hit you. But I love that. I would think Amazon wants you to play their video. It's not about Amazon, it's about YouTube. It's about the Google. Any sort of video that you play, they check against their database. That's why I love the stuff from Alexander, because I know where it's coming from. I'm playing it on my Vimeo account because he has his own folder, and so far, so good. No trouble whatsoever. Now, if they were playing music on the videos, I would have a problem, I can imagine. But if these were Alexander's videos and he were uploading it to YouTube and I was showing them on the live stream, then I would be hit. If I were showing my own video, I might be hit, I might not be hit. And I know there are a lot of streamers who, just show stuff and play music. They are dancing with the devil. They're making $700,000 a year, and if these YouTube video people or the record industry want to come after them for royalties, they'll be on the hook for, easily $1 million. But so far, they get away with it. But that doesn't mean they always will, especially if it's on demand. So now we will move into our friend Alexander and at least begin this conversation. And now we need to go to Discord. Boom, boom, boom. The magic of television. So yesterday at 3, Alexander goes by Kosmich on our Discord server. Sent me this. Good day to you and your wife. Today was a hard day. We came back, but I have not yet slept. In the first video that you will see, we are picking up a soldier from the city of Myoclive who was on the front line and had not been home for half a year. The second video shows us bringing him home where his wife meets him. And it's really a very interesting video. More, I will send you a photo and delivery of necessary things and tasty gifts to the guys. Sorry for appearing and disappearing. Good night to you. I've already turned off. I need to sleep. Because he knows I tend to reply, and then he replies, and then I reply, and then he wants to go to bed. So now he's saying, don't reply to me. Here are the pictures for your show. I'm leaving now. Okay. So this, you look at this. Oh, isn't that interesting? Then you look at it. Wait a minute. That's a gun with a disc of bullets. It looks almost like our Tommy gun. But that's some heavy-duty stuff. Alexander posing with his friends and people helping. He posted on Twitter this morning an interesting story about this woman. He says she's very young, very tiny, but she stands very tall when she protects Ukraine. And she's volunteering and she's out there trying to get the job done, and we need everybody out there doing their bit. So I think that's very lovely. And here they are, collecting and delivering delicious food for the frontline troops. Now that's a freaking gun, man. You're the wrong way, but that's a gun. Ah, here is our friend Alexander again with the Ukraine flag and the Cossack flag. And the reason this is red and blue is because this is a war flag. And when you bleed red, over time it becomes black. So blood bleeds into darkness. And then, let's see, we moved to, right. We moved into this photograph. He sent me this morning, right before we got on the show. This is amazing. And I said, what are these things? At first I thought it was a gun, because this looks like something you would fire. This looks like a trigger. But then I thought, well, this up here, maybe it's like a metal detector or a mine detector. And then he told me, he said, these are machine gun supports that you can add to any car so you can, lean out the window and shoot a machine gun reliably and stably while in a moving car. And these are the attachments that you put on your car so you can stabilize your gun. Wow! And they have a special car coming in, I guess, where they're going to put these on there, so it'll be a cool car. And I believe he shares that. There's Jenna Marie, baby. Talking about that woman who is volunteering. She is beautiful and brave. I absolutely agree with you. And Alexander saying, oh, she's so tiny and she's just a girl. But hey, there's a lot of power there. And Jenna Marie also says, I wasn't sure what that was until he told us it attached to the cars. Wow. And he was, the only reason he didn't tell us right away is because he was typing it. So it takes him a little while. So we're looking at this on our Discord server this morning at 7:30. And we're thinking, what is that? And then finally said, oh, by the way, those are the attachments for the machine gun. Here's Alexander's Twitter feed. Here's the update again, where it explains a little deeper. This photo shows a policewoman, small, fragile girl, not far from where shells are bursting. But she is defending our homeland. All will be well, I'm sure. Glory to our heroes. So there she is. And she is very delightful, but she doesn't look fragile to me. Alexander also posted this on our Discord server exclusively and then put it on Twitter. Such a gift from our defenders will go to the person who helps us a lot. We will also make small gifts from our soldiers to people who support us from other countries. With your help, we are buying everything we need for the guys on the front lines. Now, this is a spent artillery shell, a courtesy of the Russians. So, he now has this shell, and because Alexander was a jeweler before the war started, what he does is he takes these shells and he breaks them up into smaller pieces, and then he inscribes something on one side, and then draws something on the other side, and makes an amulet out of them that he then sells to raise money for the war effort. So in a way, he's, taking the Russian implements of war and turning it around on them and making money so they can buy things to defeat the Russians. I think it's delightful. And this, as he's been talking about this car for a week, And he always says he's going to send me a picture, and he never sent me a picture. But he did put this on Twitter. So this, I believe, if I understand the story, this is the car, new car, that was purchased from someone in Russia who is against the war and wants to support Ukraine. So they are, I think there are two cars. This is one car, and this is the car that they're going to put the machine gun things on. Which is sort of wild that you would use a regular person's car and add machine guns to it and make it a war machine. I mean, that sort of shows the desperation of people in Ukraine. People in Ukraine, where they have to take up arms as best they can and work things out as best they can. Alexander also said they're working very hard to get an ambulance, which you wouldn't think you'd have to raise money to try to get one, but I guess you do. And that is Alexander's story in photographs. Now, when we return from our next blood pressure break, we're going to be looking at the wonderful video version of these photographs that Alexander has also sent us. We shall return in a moment. And we're back from break. This is Boles TV, BOLES, television. I'm David Boles. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Great to have you here with us. And we've been talking about a variety of things today, and now we are continuing with our update from Ukraine. From our friend, Alexander, our brother Karamazov. Now, these videos I always find terrifically and fascinatingly interesting. Sometimes the camera's like this, sometimes the camera's like this in beautiful HD. Many of these videos are 7 seconds, 18 seconds. They're just little impulses of life from the realness that is the war in Ukraine. So this one is 8 seconds long, and these are the car videos, many of them, because he's been in transit all week. He's been going to the front, been delivering supplies, then turning around and coming back. And one of the things that he delivers is his friend back home after being on the front for 6 months. So this one, they're 3 miles away from the front lines. And this is how close it gets, and that's how close they are to the Russians. Okay. Here's another one. Now, we saw part of this one last week. And I asked him about this because they're going by and they very quickly pan to the right to obviously show this. This. And I asked him what it was. What is that thing that we saw up on the hill? And he told me that is the war memorial up on a hill in Ukraine of the victory over Hitler in World War II. I wish he had stopped the car and gone up there and got a better picture. But that's why I selected this exact frame for this video so we can look at it just a little bit. It's just amazing. And then they're just driving by it and sort of, oh, there it is, the Hitler War Memorial, goodbye Hitler. And that's the whole video, just showing that moment on the hill, which I find fascinating and refreshing. And I love these car videos because you really see what's going on in the everyday life of someone in Ukraine while they're under attack from a foreign country. I just can't imagine we here in America having the same experience. That wherever you go, you're looking for peaceful skies. And someone else is dropping stuff on your head. So here's a 10-second night video. I believe they're all very tired and they're making their way still, I believe, to the front to deliver their goods and things they have collected. This he posted on Twitter, and then he gave it to us as well to share. I believe these are nurses in Ukraine who are trying to raise money, and trying to get the word out there about what is really happening in the depths of the war. And I believe there is audio to this, but I'm not hearing it too much. Here's another one. Now we are in our HD mode. 17 seconds of unpacking and packing the Ukraine war. So I believe they're either arriving at a similar place or they are still in the process of moving supplies to the front. This is just beautiful. He originally said this to me on Twitter in a direct message, and I said, Alexander, my brother Karamazov, I cannot show that easily on the live stream because Twitter does not allow you to download video. So I would like to share it, but I can't because I'm not going to show people our private direct messages on Twitter. So he sent it to me. And this is riding in a car in Ukraine, watching the sunset, and they're talking about the sunsetting. It's just a beautiful, intimate moment. And that hole in the sky that looks like the sun fell through it is just completely fantastic. and you're in the middle of the war, and you still want to memorialize the beauty of a sunset. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. This is where they have picked up their friend who has been on the front for 6 months. And I believe he gets out of the car and they all kind of welcome him home. And it looks like they're in some kind of parking lot somewhere. It's a very short video. But the humdrumness of the environment where people are shopping and going around in their cars and, oh, we just happened to see our friend after 6 months and welcome him home. Wheelbarrows. That's the guy in the black shirt who has been on the front for 6 months. And now this next one, to me, is just the epitome of all of these videos. Now, this is a little bit longer. This is 4 minutes. And they're driving their friend home that we just saw in the video, home to see his wife. And he's not seen her for 6 months. And when you get to their house, you're going to say, wow, because that house is gorgeous. And then you think, wow, a man like that, with a house like that, and a beautiful environment like that, and a wonderful wife like that, it gives it all up to go to the front line to fight the Russians for 6 months. Now, that's a guy who has dedication. And what I love most about this video is we're on the road. This is what a non-destroyed Ukraine looks like. The neighborhoods, the architecture. We take a 4-minute ride, taking this guy home to his wife. And I find the whole thing absolutely amazing and fantastic. And Alexander is not a professional photographer. He doesn't do this as his job. As we've said, he's a jeweler. But I love seeing the landscape and the art. And you can see these are not big cities. This is the country. This is where they live. It reminds me so much of just driving through small town Nebraska. And these are people with wonderful, beautiful houses and gardens. And they just want to be left alone. They don't want to have to deal with this invasion from Putin. And the news over the weekend is that I guess Putin knows that he should not have invaded Ukraine. He now knows he's not going to be able to take the whole country. Time is not on his side. And how is he going to get out of it? I love taking the cigarette here. Or the cigarillo or whatever you call it. Looks like a cigar that looks like a cigarette. So what do you do with it? You have a madman who makes a terrible mistake and invades a sovereign country and doesn't have a way to get out of it. Because Ukraine says, oh, we'll end the war, but we're not letting him keep what he took from us. We want all of our country back. And of course they do. But I guess Putin thinks if he just stays there longer, that somehow Ukraine will just give in and say, okay, well, that whole eastern, southern part of the country you stole from us, yeah, you just keep that. We'll have the rest. I mean, they can't do it because they will never, ever, ever get it back. So it has to be all or nothing, and it should be all or nothing. Why should Ukraine give up 1 inch of territory to that madman? Just to keep the peace? There's no peace to be had. And I love that patch that he keeps kind of showing us. It's very interesting looking. There's a puppy dog in the road. And you can see there are no sidewalks. It's just a nice paved road in the middle of the countryside. I wouldn't mind living there. It looks very... Oh, here we are at the house. Now, this is the house of the guy who's been gone for 6 months in the war. And he's really wonderful that he's allowing Alexander to video this for him. And they're honking the horn that he's home. And here's the beautiful house. The beautiful landscape. Look at the iron gating and the stone. It's beautiful, just gorgeous. And look at that paved driveway with the stones. And a man gave all of this up to go to the front line and face down Putin. And he's going in the back door, not the front door, which is what you do. Small towns, you go in the kitchen door. Nobody goes in the front door except strangers. Knock on the door. Go see if she's home. And there she is. Oh, 6 months. It's a beautiful moment. And that was the last video that he sent me of that moment. And it was like, oh, what a great moment. And then yesterday he sent me another video that's even more fascinating. This is what we have been seeing over the last 2 weeks in the video that Alexander's been sharing with us. They made it to the front, and they are giving the food to the troops. And these are the troops eating the food that they brought to them. And they're so happy, and they're so delighted. And they're happy to finally be eating. So all of these things we've been seeing loaded into these little tiny vans have made it to the front. Desserts, shovels, medical aid, water. He's eating it right now because he's hungry. I think it's fantastic, and I love it so much. So that is our report from Ukraine with our good and lovely friend, Alexander Brushansky. Jana Marie says that is so amazing. It really is amazing. And I'm just so honored that Alexander has chosen us in this live stream and our Discord server to, preserve the facts of the truth of the life of people in Ukraine who are trying to do their best, survive every day, and win a war against this madman. It's truly amazing. Would Americans do the same thing? Would they be in the same position if we were being invaded by some foreign country? I'm not so sure. I would hope so, but who knows? Now, we haven't really had much conversation about Salman Rushdie because it's just such a horrible story. But then I read this and I thought, well, okay, this is by Graham Wood, a very good writer, who makes the case in a fascinating way that these attacks, and especially the attack against Salman Rushdie, have historical significance in that these sorts of attacks have been recognized and approved by a certain man with a lot of influence. And it's not who you think it is. But that person is highly religious, functionally Christian, and perhaps likes to see things happen both ways. And it's not the milquetoast named Merrick Garland, who may prove himself to be stronger after all, but the person who has, in this author's mind, approved these attacks against people like Salman Rushdie is President Jimmy Carter. What? How can it be? Well, we're going to find out because Graham Wood explains it. And it's like you read it and, well, of course that's what it is. It's both sides-isms. That's what this is. Well, they were insulted, so they should be able to fight back and stand up for themselves, even if it means killing somebody. Well, Jimmy Carter. Of course it's Jimmy Carter. Ayatollah Khomeini died in 89, months after issuing a fatwa ordering the murder of Salman Rushdie and all others involved in the publication of his novel, The Satanic Verses. And I remember when it came out. I bought it immediately. Fatwas cannot be rescinded posthumously, which is why, ever since then, this is the nuttiness of religion. Well, I have a fatwa. The death sentence against you, and if I die, it stays. Which is why, ever since then, this fatwa has hung in the air like a fart. Like a putrid smell. Inhaled deeply for inspiration by devout followers of Khomeini and his successors. On Friday, a man stabbed Rushdie in upstate New York. Oof. The honorable response is to say that we are all Rushdie now, and that America's failure to protect him is a collective shame. In the face of this thuggery, Rushdie's work should be read publicly, his name thrown in the face of apologists for the regime that once ordered and offered to pay for his assassination. Gordon gave us a link that we'll look at later. But we are not all Rushdie. And in fact, the past couple of decades have led me to wonder if some of us are more Khomeini than we'd like to admit. Here we go. Former President Jimmy Carter was, at the time of the original fatwa, the most prominent American to suggest that the crime of murder should be balanced against Rushdie's crime of blasphemy. What? The Ayatollah's death sentence caused writers and public officials in Western nations to become almost exclusively preoccupied with the author's rights. Jimmy Carter wrote in an op-ed for the New York Times. Well, yes, Carter did not only say that Muslims were offended and wished violence on Rushdie, that was simply a matter of fact. He, Jimmy Carter, super religioso man, took to the op-ed page to add his view that these fanatics had a point. While Rushdie's First Amendment freedoms are important, he wrote, we have tended to promote him and his book with little acknowledgement that it is a direct insult to those millions of Muslims whose sacrificed beliefs have been violated. Stunning. I had no idea. I do not remember that. Our culture over the past 2 decades has been Carterized. Jimmy Carterized. Not Donald Trump. Not those MAGA nuts in the GOP. No. Jimmy Carter, who builds houses for the homeless, but who is super, super religious. We have conceded moral authority to howling mobs. And the louder the howls, the more we have agreed that the howls were worth heeding. Novelist Hanif Kureishi has said that nobody would have the balls to write the Satanic Verses today. That's true. More precisely, nobody would publish it, which is even truer. Because sensitivity readers would notice the theological delicacy of the book's title and plot. Oh, the Ayatollahs have trained them well. And social media disasters of recent years have reinforced the lesson, hey, don't publish books that get you criticized, either by semi-literate fanatics on the other side of the world or by semi-literate fanatics on this one. In 2015, after jihadists killed 8 members of the staff of Charlie Hebdo, PEN America, a venerable institution promoting the interests of writers and free expression, and one that Salman Rushdie himself once led, presented the survivors with an award for their courage. Fanatics had warned them for years that they'd be killed for their cartoons, but they published anyway. After the slaughter, hundreds of pen members doubted whether they deserved an award and objected in a sententious, scolding open letter. I, the author, Graham, I joined Penn that year, where the application asked for my reasons. I wrote to cancel out the vote of Joyce Carol Oates, another one of the signers, that the Charlie Hebdo people earned their death because of their insensitivity. Today, with Rushdie sliced to ribbons, stabbed 10 times, liver damage, reports are he's going to lose an eye. In a hospital bed in Erie, it is impossible to read their letter without noticing how fully they surrendered to this cult of offense and took the side of those offended against the dead. In 1989, the same people who wrote that letter betrayed its Philistinism by reducing Rushdie's novel, one of the greatest by a living writer, to an insult. Penn's critics of Charlie Hebdo declared that its cartoons of the prophet must be seen as being intended to cause further humiliation and suffering. The letter did not even attempt to criticize Charlie Hebdo on literary grounds. Owen Gordon says, how ironic that Joyce Carol Oates shared the tweet that I shared here. Yeah, she's real trouble. She wrote a whole scolding letter about Robert Frost. It was just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It takes nerve to describe artists and journalists who were recently shot in the face as having themselves caused their own suffering. Today it sounds just as macabre, but hits a worthier target. Those who muddle the distinction between offense and violence and between a disagreement over ideas and a disagreement over whether your head should remain attached to your body or not. Now that Rushdie's head has been partially detached and on American soil, I hope these distinctions will need no further elaboration. Graham Wood, The Atlantic. Whew. That is a beautiful and alarming story. Now let's see what Gordon shared. Salman Rushdie's son, Zafar Rushdie, stressed in a statement Sunday that the Satanic Verses author remained in critical condition, but said his father's usual feisty defiances of humor remains intact. Though his life-changing injuries are severe, his usual feisty and defiant sense of humor remains intact. So, people have very convenient memories. So if Joyce Carol Oates is now supporting this, or maybe she's taking the side of the stabber, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. And I sort of know Joyce Carol Oates tangentially because of my work as an assistant editor on Prairie Schooner when I was at the University of Nebraska. She was published there a lot. You sort of looked up to her, but now that I know more about her, as time goes on and time and tide travel, faster than memory can be erased, you begin to wonder, what is she really doing? Why do you blame people for their own deaths? It's the same thing where, for a long time they say, oh, look, that young woman over there, beautiful, short skirt, a skimpy top. Well, of course she's going to get negative attention, and whatever happens to her is her own fault. Ridiculous. But Salman Rushdie earned his beating because he wrote a book that hurt people's feelings. Now, we're not done discussing this because I'm going to take this to the next step. In the wake of Salman Rushdie, we got to take a quick break. Returning in a moment. And we are back from break. This is Boles.tv, BOLES.tv, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, and I am David Boles. Well, we've been talking about Salman Rushdie and Joyce Carol Oates and Jimmy Carter. Who knew that Jimmy Carter is the one who started this whole, we have been offended, and therefore we have the right to harm you and hurt you? Who knew? Jimmy Carter. Who knew Joyce Carol Oates supported not the Charlie Hebdo guys, but the people who did the murdering? Well, what do you expect? You make fun of whatever it was, not the Ayatollah, but you make fun of their religious icon, and you're going to get what you deserve. And it's fine. It's shocking. But speaking of Joyce Carol Oates, this is an article I wrote way back in 2014. And this is Joyce Carol Oates' takedown of Robert Frost. And the man is dead. One of the greatest living American poets of all time. And yet, she wasn't a fan. In November of last year, Joyce Carol Oates gave the legend, Robert Frost, the old 1-2 of a good old New England beating in print for old time's sake. Here's the link in chat. And there's no doubt that Joyce Carol Oates is a great author and writes well and can, pick you apart. But what she did to Robert Frost, I find, was just unforgivable. But now that I find out what she said about the Charlie Hebdo thing, that's even more unforgivable. So I guess I'm not forgiving anything today that has to do with Joyce Carol Oates. So now, in our conversation about Salman Rushdie and how this fatwa, this death sentence, is hung over him all of these years, I am reminded, and I've written about this, about my play that was produced in 1986 in Lincoln, Nebraska, at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And it was an abortion play. The idea of abortion, there was not a live abortion on stage, it was a hysterical pregnancy. But the ideas going around, a woman's choice, premarital sex, was all very sticky and touchy and ghost-like. Although I was not aware that this was Henrik Ibsen's Ghosts rewritten, because I had not read the play, but there are common themes that run throughout families and throughout literature and drama that are repeated wittingly and unwittingly. So, when this play was done and produced, there was a lot of publicity because a student had written it, and it was being directed by the head of the theater department. And the lead actress was using that performance as her MFA thesis. So it had a lot of attention. And of course, in Nebraska, even in 1986, which is much more liberal and forgiving and caressing then than it is now, there were people who did not like the idea of my show. They hadn't seen it. They hadn't read it. They just knew that they didn't like what I was writing about. Here's the link to the script. You can read it yourself. And if I were cunning and smart, I would be, in light of Roe v. Wade being overturned, I would be producing this everywhere, as should other people. So you can download and read the play for yourself. And here's a story that I wrote in 2016, 30 years later, that abortion play, as it was known in Lincoln, Nebraska at that time. I'll put that link in chat too. And I was reflecting on it and what that meant, and 30 years later, how all things had changed. These were some of the reviews of the show. student newspaper, all very nice, all on my website as well. So here's the issue that fascinates me between, not that I'm Salman Rushdie, but from what he's going through now to what I went through then, is there were a lot of people, talking about satanic verses. Would it be written and then published today? No, no one would dare. My play, A Stone's Throw, would it be written today? Yes, because it's me. Would it be produced anywhere? No, I don't believe it would be. Too controversial. Nobody wants to put up with that. And would they come after me? Probably. And Joyce Carol Oates would probably be, leading the team of anarchists against me, calling for my death. How dare I write that and insult people who do not believe in abortion or a woman's right to choose? How dare I? I deserve whatever I get. So I know that. And it dismays me that Nebraska and the world has changed so much in 30 years. Gone backward, not forward. And I have been reminded, back in 1986, when this play was being produced, that there were death threats that were called in to the university. One time we had, on one of the performances, a bomb threat that was called in. There was a bomb in the building. And it's interesting because at that time, we kind of the thinking was, it's impossible. There's nobody who could get in the building. And the show went on and nothing happened. Now, today, someone calls in a bomb threat. The entire university would be shut down for a week. It's very interesting. But the thing where they really got us, these people who want to support the non-creator, the antagonist, the offended over the people who are trying to put on a show, it was a very limited run, maybe 2 weeks. And somebody called and said, we have a special event. And we want to buy out the entire theater, because this is a really great play. I was excited. Other people were excited. We're all excited. Oh my gosh, it's like almost a private showing for a group of however many people fit in the theater, 300, 800, I can't remember. And the manager, the longtime 30-year manager of the theater program, took the reservation. And the day came, the night came, and nobody showed up. And I wrote about that in that article 30 years later. Nobody showed up. I am, sort of like, And very quickly, we all know exactly what happened to someone. Doesn't like the play, wants to silence us, take us out of network. And the mistakes that were made is the theater manager should have said, okay, you want to buy out the theater, pay the money. Give us all the money up front. Buy your tickets. And they didn't. They said, we'll pay when we get there. So that was a major mistake. But who would think that anybody would do that, especially in 1986, in virginal Nebraska? It's not for everybody. It used to be the good life, not anymore. So one was put over on the theater department and all of us actors and people. So we were all furious about this. It was about half an hour before showtime. The actor said, do we do the show? Do we not do the show? The director said, we were doing the show. And I said, yes, we have to do the show. Please don't let them win by canceling the show. That's what they want. So everybody, there were no cell phones at that time. So we were using pay phones. We were going out in the street. We were going to Sheldon Art Gallery. We were going in other places, food places where kids were and said, look, we're doing a free show. Don't need a ticket. This is what happened. They're trying to censor us, silence us. Bring your friends, come on over. So we had that in about 20 minutes. We found people, everyone on staff, everyone in the play, in their costumes, the people behind the scenes, the technical people. We all went out and found one or two people to come in and watch the show. So we had maybe 100 people there. It was very, very lucky. And the actors put on a fantastic performance. And so did the technical people. So who won that night? The people trying to silence us and punish us for thinking outside their realm of Christian thinking that all abortion is bad, and any play that addresses the idea, not supporting it, but it addresses the idea of what it means to have an unwanted pregnancy is bad. And that was an issue. We were struck down. We were punched in the face. And yet we stood up. The show went on. We succeeded where other people thought we never would. And we overcame the moment. And that whole situation would not even happen today. Play would not be produced. And just from that one decision, everything else falls. No protest, no information, no actors, no MFA part, no wonderful reviews in the local newspaper, nothing. Just because we don't want to deal with these crazy people who make threats and who are supported by people like Joyce Carol Oates, I guess, and Jimmy Carter. Oh, no, the offended people, the people who don't like it, they can wound you and maim you and hurt you and kill you and cancel your show and make bomb threats and not come to your show and not pay 1 penny for their deceit. Those are the people we need to support, not the people who have actually been offended and hurt and wounded and have their careers and their young playwright lives revoked and slapped and affected. No. Only the offended opinion matters. And that's where we are today. Everybody is offended by everything. Everybody has a trigger. Everybody isn't interested in what anybody else thinks because they know what they know, and they put that on the internet. And if you happen to disagree with them or not even like what they say, then you're the bad person. You are the person who deserves what you get. And if my boyfriend comes and beats you up, or if I blow you up with a bomb, or if I stab you 10 times on stage, that's not my fault. That's your fault because of who you are and what you believe. And that is the madness that surrounds us in modern day America. And I don't know how we get out of it. I don't know where we go from here, because the offended is now a major political party in America. The GOP live for retribution and punishment for the invasion and the hurting of their feelings. And we, everyone else, are the ones who are doing it to them. So if you get shot, if you get blown up, it's not our fault. It's your fault. You're here. You're going against us. You don't agree with us. You have written things we don't like. So therefore, you have earned your end. That is the danger of living a life in a modern world. You never know who's against you until they take the knife out of their pocket and start stabbing you in the eye. Well, it's been a wonderful, interesting show today. We talked about dishwashing. We talked about top sheets. We talked about the night sky that Ellie sees. And we talked about Alexander, our brother Karamazov, live and in person, and his wonderful, fantastic reports from Ukraine. I thank you so much for being here. I'll be here again tomorrow. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful nap, a great sleep, and a wonderful time awakening. And may your soul be filled with joy and anticipation of tomorrow and the next day and the next day. If you have any thoughts or comments, you can go to our Discord server. We have a whole new area where you can ask us questions, comment on the live stream, Talk about other things. Look for links. On Twitter, you can find me at David Boles. Super follow to follow. Alexander, our brother Karamazov, it's a super follower. So he's a super great guy and having a super great time. Gordon says maybe we should all put on the play. I love that. Hey, we could even do it like it's a radio drama or something, where everybody reads, so it doesn't have to be staged, because people get staged and say, I don't want to get bombed. Why would I do that? It's an interesting idea. On Facebook, we are Boles. On Instagram, it's Boles Books. TikTok, Boles TV. And Commissioner Gordon says, signing off from Winter Garden, Florida. Hey, thanks for having us. And we reply, see you in a day or two, and I'll have more ideas for you. We hope. You never know. You can run out of ideas and just sit here and, talk about dishwashers and ironing and top sheets. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.